Hello there. Here you are on episode 58. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about protein, fiber, intermittent fasting, and GLP-1, and what actually helps with improving your insulin sensitivity. If you have ever felt overwhelmed by conflicting advice, that is another thing that most people share with me, and they hear all these things in forums, in Facebook groups, all of these places. Eat more protein. No, you need to eat more fiber. No, you need to snack every 2 hours. No, you need to stop snacking or skip breakfast or skip dinner or fast longer. There's a 16-8. There's an 8-16. Or no, fasting is going to ruin your metabolism. Okay, I know. I'm already getting railed out. You're confused because context matters. And solutions are not cookie cutter. What may work for one person may not work for you. So you have to look at the science. You have to look at how many people have done this and it works. There are some solutions that work with one person. It doesn't mean that it's going to work with everybody. And there are elements also that maybe they're incorporating that they're not even telling you. And that's why it actually worked. So today I want to break down what helps insulin resistance, how these tools work in your body, and when they support your metabolism. Also, when they don't. Let's talk about all of this because we don't want extremes. We don't want rigid rules. That is something that I personally don't advocate. It's not part of my philosophy in terms of coaching. But let's think about physiology, what is happening in your body, and clearly explain it. I want to welcome you back to the Path to Better A1C podcast. If you don't know me, I am your host, Jenny Pena, a National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach, a diabetes prevention program lifestyle coach, and I am the founder of GenP Coaching, as well as the creator of my signature program, 12-week program, the A1C Reset Protocol. I help men and women, busy professionals, improve their insulin sensitivity, lower their A1C, prevent diabetes, lose weight, and all that while building sustainable habits. That's without extreme diets or burnout. And this is episode 58, part of our 2026 insulin resistance and weight loss series. Because we know it's January, it's the beginning of the year, and this is an area of focus and an area that a lot of people ask me about. Now, let's talk about protein. Why everybody all of a sudden now is telling you to eat more protein? Let's talk about this. It helps with feeling full. It helps with stability. It helps with blood sugar support. Now, I'm going to tell you this one thing. I'm going to burst your bubble a bit. And trust me, I am the strongest advocate in terms of protein. Protein isn't magic, but it's foundational. And here's why. Protein slows your digestion. It reduces your blood sugar spikes. It will increase your hormones that help feeling you full. When you're feeling full, those hormones that give that note to your brain, protein has a role on that. It also helps preserve lean muscle, especially during weight loss. Because if you are not eating enough protein, you end up losing muscle instead of fat. And I joke with my clients, I always tell them, if they're called Jenny, I'm going to use my own name. I'm like, well, you don't want flabby Jenny. You want strong Jenny, right? So if you want to do that, you need to prioritize protein. That's how I say it in a jokingly way. Now, for people with insulin resistance, protein actually helps prevent that sharp glucose swing. Remember that I keep talking about the blood sugar roller coaster and all of that? When it happens constantly, your body becomes more resistant to insulin. That is the biggest thing. That's why it's so connected with blood sugar imbalances and how by balancing your blood sugar, you're working on improving your insulin. It's going to make meals feel more satisfying, more stable, and you're just going to have more energy. And this is why adding protein at breakfast often changes the entire day. If there's like one thing that I tell most of my clients to do, it's definitely that. Like, okay, you don't know where to start? Please start with breakfast. Because I know that the moment that they incorporate protein for breakfast consistently, a lot of different things start changing. Fewer cravings, they feel more energy, they have a bit less of the grazing later on. And not because it's a rule, it's because it supports physiology. Now, let's talk about fiber. Fiber is another element that not many people talk about, I have to admit. It's not sexy. It's not a sexy macro, right? Like before, it used to be all about fat and having everything low fat. Then now we're switching to protein, but fiber seems to be that unspoken hero that not many of us talk about. And it's amazing. It has a great role in terms of glucose absorption and metabolic support because fiber works a bit different than protein. Fiber slows carbohydrate absorption. It slows carbohydrate absorption and reduces that post meal glucose spike. That's why when you hear about dietitians telling you go for the complex carbs, right? Like make sure it has the skin if you're eating the fruit, or if you're getting those non starchy vegetables, right? That they have more fiber. Why? Because it will reduce that spike. And when it reduces that spike, it's going to improve your insulin sensitivity over time. And not only that, but it also supports your gut health, which affects your metabolism. And soluble fiber in particular helps smooth out blood sugar so that energy feels a bit more stable. And hunger signals, they become easier to read when fiber is a constant in your diet. Now, please, I know all my keto dieters, fiber does not just cancel carbs. Okay. I know that there's this net carb thing going on and I'm going to deduct and this is what's happened. It's not like it completely just cancels carbs, but it changes how your body responds to them. And that's the major thing. It will change how your body responds to them. Now, let's talk about snacking because there's a lot of things going on with the snacks. Some people say it's horrible, some people say it's great. And yes, there are scenarios in which it helps, and there are other scenarios in which it actually hurts you. Now, snacking is necessarily not good or bad. It's more about two things: timing, right? Are you snacking every hour? Are you grazing every hour? That is definitely not good. It keeps your body pumping insulin. It's not going to help. What you want is well timed meals and also the composition of those meals, right? It's not just how often you eat, but what are you actually eating? How are you building your meals? Because snacking can actually help when meals are spaced far apart. If you're having breakfast and lunch really far apart, having a balanced snack may actually be good. Blood sugar dips mid afternoon, it may actually help. So if you're experiencing these energy crashes and you're getting moody and you're getting irritable, snacking may be a good thing. However, snacking can hurt if it is mostly refined carbs. So yes, that cookie, that muffin, that stale donut, it's probably not the best thing. And especially when it's driven by stress or habit rather than hunger. Because sometimes you go for these foods and it's not necessarily that you're hungry. It's that either you are having a stressful moment, you're looking for comfort, or you're just so used to having that 3 o'clock coffee and cookie that even if you don't need it, your body reminds you, your brain reminds you that, oh, wait a minute, it's 3 o'clock. It's time for a cookie. So, what you need to do is having the snacks that follow the same concept that I shared and that they're not somewhat replacing what a balanced meal should be. So, you should have your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, and they should be able to sustain you if they're timed right. Now, some blood sugar supporting snacks, again, they usually include the protein, the fiber, or both. And I want you to think about snacking as a tool, not a requirement. I want you to really assess, why do I need a snack? Is it that I didn't eat well? Did I skip a meal? Am I truly hungry? Am I just anxious? Is it because I always have this at this time? Think about that. Again, awareness. You're going to hear this a lot this month. Awareness, becoming aware why you really need this, because that empowers you, that gives you power over it. Cravings do not dominate you. Now you're controlling it. Now let's talk about intermittent fasting. And I know some of my listeners are avid intermittent fasters, and I know there are books out there and there's a lot of theories out there. So we'll talk about it. The whole concept of it is that it can improve insulin sensitivity because if you're having a long period of time without eating, there's no insulin being produced. It may help when meals are already balanced. It may help when sleep is adequate and when your stress levels are manageable. However, it can backfire when it actually increases cravings, when you're noticing that your energy and your mood is suffering, when it impacts your stress hormones. And one thing that I have seen, especially for people that are trying to lose weight, is that since they skipped breakfast, they feel that they can actually eat more. So they're catching up during that eating window. And guess what? Well, calories in, calories out is not the only factor. It is a factor. So if you overeat, you are going to either maintain or start gaining weight. So think about fasting as a tool, evaluate it. Again, it's not my favorite, especially for if you're a pre-diabetic or a diabetic, based on all the people that I have coached, based on the feedback, it works for a while. It doesn't seem to be something that people can sustain for the long run. Now, if your labs are okay, if your doctor thinks it's great, if whatever medication you're taking, it does not interact and you're feeling good and you think that you can actually embrace this eating window forever, right? Think about it the long run, then continue doing it, talk to your doctor about it. But think about that fasting is not a shortcut, it's a tool. For insulin resistance, the goal is not necessarily longer fast. It's more about metabolic flexibility. So what does that mean? It means that you want to have that great rhythm where you're not getting those spikes and your body's not constantly producing insulin so that you can lower the glucose levels in your bloodstream. That's pretty much it. So now that you know about all of this, let's talk about GLP-1s. GLP-1s, yes, it's a medication. It is all the rave. Everybody wants it. I see it. I have worked with many clients that are losing weight with GLP-1 medication. So I'm familiar with like the symptoms and the side effects and the protocol that you should follow because there is a protocol that you should follow in order for you to be successful. But it's not just a medication, it's actually a hormone. Your body already produces it. So if you didn't know that your body produces GLP-1, yes, it does. And that is the hormone that is responsible to slow digestion, to increase feeling of fullness, and to improve your insulin response. That's why these medications, while now they're talking about the weight loss, initially it was more for individuals with diabetes and prediabetes. But I want to talk about how you can actually incorporate certain things that will help you release GLP-1 naturally. And guess what it is? What could it be, Coach Jenny? Protein, fiber, having balanced meals, having stable blood sugar patterns. That is how you help your body produce GLP-1 naturally. Medications do amplify that signal, but the foundation is really that metabolic support, not the restriction. So think about all these things as tools, not absolutes. And think about how you can incorporate protein and fiber and how you can improve your snacking. I'm not a strong advocate. You're going to know that. Sorry, that is just my opinion. But if you feel that fasting may be something that you want to explore, talk to your doctor. Make sure you check with your medications. Some medications, including GLP-1s, you're not actually recommended to do intermittent fasting while you're on GLP-1s. If you're working with me and you're on a GLP-1, I will tell you, if you are doing intermittent fasting before, please cease to do that while you're on the medication. You can take it back when you're back without the medication. Okay? Another thing that a lot of people, when they get into GLP-1 medications, they're thinking like, I am never hungry, so I just don't eat. And I'm like, well, the medication goes away and the cravings kind of come back and the food noise come back and you're not adjusting a lot of different habits while you're taking a medication, it is going to backfire. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Now, for the takeaway, for the action step, you know how I love to give you something to do after every single podcast episode. This week, choose one adjustment. Maybe you already added protein to your breakfast. Maybe this week is going to be about fiber to at least one meal. Maybe it's going to be, again, look at your snacks and balance. Maybe eat more consistently instead of skipping. Remember that one change is enough. I always tell my clients, focus on one thing, build it, tweak it if it doesn't work, and then pack on different changes. Because if you try to change everything all at once, it's just doomed to fail. Now, next week, I'm going to talk about how insulin resistance is a hormone issue. Weight loss, PCOS. I was diagnosed with PCOS when I was in my 20s, and I have been able to manage it. I was diagnosed with prediabetes when I was in my 20s and not overweight or obese. It was just purely my habits were horrible. And if you are familiar, if you have followed me on social media, you probably are familiar with my story. But we are going to talk about these things and look at the bigger hormonal picture, because ultimately insulin is a hormone. It's not just a blood sugar marker. And we are going to talk about weight loss and why it feels harder, especially when you have diabetes and prediabetes, and for my ladies that have PCOS, because hormones work together and they don't work in isolation. So when one hormone is a little bit out of whack, it just impacts everything else. So if you have ever felt like your body is fighting you, probably next episode will explain why. If this episode helped clarify what actually supports insulin resistance, please follow the podcast so you don't miss what's next. Share it with someone that maybe is overwhelmed with food rules and all these things. And check the show notes always for free resources, programs, offerings, free webinars. And remember, your body responds best when it's supported, not when it's controlled. I'll see you next week.